I believe as a matter of principle, this is as a matter of principle, regardless of what you think about Donald Trump, if you are running for president of the United States as a Republican candidate in 2024, I think you need to pledge to pardon Donald Trump in the event that he is convicted. Now, that goes whether you are Ron DeSantis, whether you are Chris Christie, whether you are Mike Pence, Vivek Ramaswamy, Nikki Haley, or Tim Scott. This is something that I said on the radio a while back. You may have heard me question Ron DeSantis about it the day after Ron DeSantis announced that he was running for president over a month ago. And I don't think it should be a great surprise. We had Nikki Haley on yesterday. Ask her the question. And by the way, you don't have to agree with me, okay? A lot of you out there watching right now, listening right now, you may be saying, I hate Donald Trump. I think he should go to the prison. I think they should convict him, lock him in prison, throw away the key. I wouldn't pee on him. There's no way on earth that I would ever pardon him, okay? That's your right. I disagree with you. I think charging a former president who is the leading candidate to be president again in 2024 for the first time in the 240-plus year history of the United States, frankly, I think that is an awful precedent to set. And I think it's important to stand on principle over politics and say, I'm not going to allow this precedent to become a reality. I'm not running for president, but if I were, I would come out and say quite succinctly, as I have, I would pardon Donald Trump after I take the oath of office in January of 2025. I'm not going to allow him to go to prison. By the way, I've said the same thing of Joe Biden. If I were advising Joe Biden, I would advise Joe Biden to pardon Donald Trump because I think the precedent for the nation is so awful that we are making very poor choice if we try to put Donald Trump in prison. Okay, right? So I asked Mike Pence that. And Mike Pence effectively dodged the question. I want to circle back to the first question there because I don't think you directly answered it. So let's presume you're fortunate enough to take oath of office January 2025. You become the next president of the United States. Donald Trump is convicted of what I think you would agree are clearly, to a large degree, political-based charges. He is facing time in prison. Maybe they even put handcuffs on him and walk him into a prison. Would you pardon him from those federal charges?
Well, first off, these are serious charges. And as I said, I can't defend what's been alleged, but the president does deserve to make his defense. And I would say to each one of you, look, I've been a former governor. I've actually granted pardons to people. And I take the pardon authority very seriously. It's an enormously important power of someone in an executive position. And I just think it's premature to have any conversation about that right now, guys. I really
Why would you? But hold on. Let me just ask you that because I think as a matter of principle, if you believe, as both Buck and I do, that Donald Trump is being prosecuted to a large extent for political-based reasons, something that has never happened in the 240-plus year history of the United States, that we are setting an awful precedent here. And I think it's important to look at this even before the case has taken place. You've read the indictment. You know what the allegations are. They are serious. Right. But to me, what is gained by allowing Donald Trump to be put in prison in the event he was convicted is we lose infinitely more by not just taking a principled stand and saying as a matter of principle, this shouldn't happen. I'm not going to allow it. To me, if you're the executive, you are the ultimate decider. With all due respect, when you aren't telling us what your decision would be, I think you're dodging the question and frankly not stepping up on the front of leadership, which in the past you've been willing to do. So to me, not answering is a no.
Well, look, number one, I don't think you know what the president's defense is, do you? I mean, what are the facts? I mean, look, we either believe in our judicial process in this country or we don't. We either stand by the rule of law, we don't. I just what I would tell you is I think as someone who has exercised
what I'm hearing is you're fine with
past,
Donald Trump being put in prison, sir, and that to me, since you were his vice president, feels pretty disrespectful.
I had a standard rule. I don't talk about hypotheticals. Look, we don't know what the president's defense here is. I think he's entitled to make his defense, entitled to have his day in court. And look, let's take it one step at a time. But I would just tell you that
but if you know that these are political charges, and you do, this is not a difficult decision.
Clay, I think we've
gotten
gotten what we're going to get here in terms of an answer to this one.
I just think any conclusion by anyone running for the presidency of the United States that would prejudge the facts in this case or prejudge the investigation into President Biden or his family is premature. Let's let the process play out. Let's follow the facts, and I promise you, as President of the United States, I'll do just that.
And then I pressed him on it, and it got a little bit heated. And we read an email. Buck Sexton kind of came in and refereed it and pulled me out of the line of questioning. And look, I think Mike Pence's presidential campaign is over. I do. I think it was an awful answer. I think Mike Pence could have come out and said, as a matter of principle, I made the right decision on January 6th. If Donald Trump is convicted, I think he should have to serve time in prison. I'm standing on principle. I would disagree with him on that position on Trump, but I would respect the fact that he gave an honest answer. And as I said, I would stand on principle and refuse to allow a president and a former president, as well as a current presidential contender, to be taken out by the chief political opposition for what I believe are primarily political related charges, right? I've said pretty clearly, I think the charges are politically based. I also don't think that Trump handled them as well as he could. You can believe both those things, right? But you need to stand on principle. When you dodge giving an answer to that question, to me, it's a no. And also, you're undermining the very basis of your entire candidacy. I think Mike Pence ended his candidacy, in my opinion, in the interview that he just gave on Clay and Buck. Because his candidacy is, I will stand on principle no matter what. I did. I'm talking as if I was Mike Pence. I did what was right on January 6th, and I'll do what's right as it pertains to the Trump pardon. But you have to have an answer. You can't fake it. And frankly, one of the things I always think of when I am doing a radio show is I feel fortunate because I get to meet and I get to interview presidential candidates all over the country, right? And that's an incredible privilege. But so is running for office. And you should be prepared to answer questions and tell voters where you stand on issues. And when politicians dodge and try to avoid taking stances, I think it's the job of people in my position to ask them questions when I think they are dodging and to press them on it. Because the audience can tell. When you're getting a non-answer, if I'm driving around in my car, I'm listening on a podcast, I get frustrated when questions aren't answered. So I think it's the job of hosts to press and try to get answers and information from candidates. And I think, again, the underlying premise of the entire Pence campaign is I will stand on principle. And when you refuse then to stand on principle, I think it's a big story. And I think it deserves to be discussed. And I think Mike Pence has put himself in a position now where he's alienated himself from everybody. Because whatever base there is that believes in the Republican Party that Donald Trump should suffer consequences for his behavior is relatively small, but Pence didn't give them the answer they wanted. And the base of the party that disagrees and believes that you should stand on principle and that Donald Trump did nothing wrong and that he doesn't deserve to be put in prison, that entire group as well, I just think Mike Pence should have been prepared for this question, and I think he should have answered it better. And I think it was disrespectful of the audience that he tried to dodge it. And so I held his feet to the fire on it. And I think that's what the job is. When you ask a question, you don't get the answer, I'm not going to just allow a politician to dodge it. And so you can go listen to that audio yourself. When we clip this part of the show, you can listen to it. I think it's going to echo and reverberate through a lot of political circles as he didn't answer that question.